Near midnight, my phone flashes with another impossible release. The screen glows on the dark table like a dare. Beside it, my own watch stays still, heavy, almost relieved to be out of the contest. I should feel the rush. That is what the launch is built to trigger. Instead, I feel a hard little knot under my ribs. The alert does not arrive as discovery. It arrives as instruction. Move now. Signal fast. Prove you can get inside the rope before everyone else. I can already see the boutique line, the waitlist texts, the cafe wrist shot angled just enough to say I was chosen. And that is the part that cools me. I still want the sharp case edge, the quiet dial, the human hand in the finishing. I just want my desire to belong to me before it gets recruited into a public audition. The phone buzzes before the train clears the tunnel. A launch alert opens across the window, right on top of my face. Limited release, waiting list, act now. Notice what happens first. Not pleasure. Compression. My chest tightens, my thumb wakes up, and suddenly the morning feels grated. That is a real pattern, not romance. Scarcity plus speed can make attention feel like duty before taste has even spoken. I glance at the plain watch already warm under my cuff. It asks nothing from me. No timer, no cue. That contrast matters. If the first feeling is pressure to respond, I am probably managing someone else's urgency, not meeting my own desire. The worst part was not the price. It was seeing the line at 9 a.m. and realizing the whole sidewalk was a ranking exercise. We stood shoulder to shoulder, acting casual, while everyone ran the same silent scan: wrist, shoes, jacket, ease. A watch I had imagined opening alone at home suddenly felt public, almost borrowed from the crowd. People turned cuffs just enough to show metal. Phones came up for proof. In that atmosphere, desire stops being intimate and becomes self-conscious. You are not just wanting the watch, you are managing how your wanting looks. That is what weakens attachment. I do not want my first memory of it to be a cue where affection had to pass through competition. I fasten the famous steel sports watch and face the boutique mirror. The watch is handsome. The problem arrives a second later. My back tightens as if I am about to pitch a deal, not check the time. My chin lifts, my smile becomes the careful smile I use with people I do not trust yet. That is the tell. This watch does not simply sit on my wrist. It edits my behavior. It asks for a more public version of me, someone crisp, certain, competitive. But my real life is built around typing notes before dawn, answering soft questions, and friends who would spot any pose immediately. In the mirror, the mismatch becomes clear. If a watch makes me rehearse a personality, it is not expressing me. It is replacing me. Out on the sales floor, every watch asks to be noticed. In here, the door closes and the room shrinks to a chair, a tray, and one soft lamp over the felt. When the simpler watch comes toward me, the performance drops away. The bracelet opens with a dry little sound. Then it clicks shut, and my shoulders loosen before I decide anything. In the quiet, I stop scanning for status and start measuring contact. The cool case back meets skin first. Then the weight settles, not heavy, just certain. The case sits low, balanced, almost gone under my cuff. With nothing flashy pulling my eyes, my thumb keeps tracing the first link, checking for friction. When my hand finally goes still, I believe it. At dinner, I keep the watch where it almost vanishes. When I reach for the bread, the cuff slides down and hides it again. Most of the table never notices, and that actually calms me. If everyone praised it, the watch would stop feeling personal and start feeling like bait. The better moment is smaller. One guest, the kind who knows references without naming them, pauses for half a beat. Their eyes drop to my wrist, then return to my face. A tiny nod. Nothing spoken. What hits me is the relief of being understood without having to perform. Broad admiration creates exposure. Selective recognition creates control, intimacy, and the feeling that the signal was valuable enough to be read only by the right person. The mood shifts when the watch stops being the subject and I become the test. The associate lowers his voice, glances at the empty stool beside me, and says, "This piece is usually offered to established clients first." Now, I am not noticing the case shape or the bracelet. I am noticing the script, allocation, relationship. Maybe a call next month, maybe nothing. My neck stiffens. Scarcity is meant to speed me up, but in a quiet buyer, it often triggers the opposite response: distance. If access has to be staged like a favor, The object loses clarity. I look at the tray, thank him, and let the silence stretch. Hesitation stops feeling weak. It starts feeling like good judgment. Late at night, the only sound is the laptop fan. Your watch lies in the tray, still holding the heat of your wrist, but your eyes keep returning to the resale tabs. A chart lifts, a listing falls, and your attention quietly changes jobs. You are no longer wearing the watch. You are managing it. The clasp, the weight, the calm glance at dinner, all of that gets pushed aside by entry price, exit timing, and color scarcity. The watch stops feeling private. It starts feeling exposed to the market. Then the bond cools fast. A hairline scratch reads like damage to value. A compliment at the office lands like social proof. Once financial language enters the ritual, affection has to leave. The real bond usually starts the next morning, not in the boutique and not when the box opens. It starts when the room is cold, the coffee is quiet, and your thumb finds the crown before you're fully awake. A modest mechanical watch asks for the same small effort every day. Turn, pause, feel the resistance, hear that tiny, dry click. Psychologically, that matters. Repeated touch plus tiny effort creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes attachment. That is why quiet luxury lasts longer in private than in public. No audience, no status to perform, just a gesture you repeat until the watch feels built into your morning. Day one adrenaline fades fast. A daily ritual sinks deeper, and ownership starts to feel earned. The first scratch feels like a tiny betrayal. You catch it in a hard stripe of sun, and your stomach drops. For a beat, the watch looks less perfect. Then it looks less public. A flawless case still performs for the boutique, for strangers, for the fantasy of careful ownership. One thin mark changes the signal. It says this watch has touched your actual life. The train pole, the dinner table edge, the brass zipper of a weekend bag. That is the psychology of patina. The watch stops asking for approval. It starts keeping score for you. Wear marks turn metal into private proof. You do not chase the first call. You learn the person making it. In a small showroom, across a felt tray and cooling coffee, trust shows up in small motions. The dealer reaches for the half link before you ask, remembers you fly often, and brings out the thinner case that will disappear under a cuff. They remember the service record on the watch you almost bought 2 winters ago. They tell you when a piece is wrong for your life. They point out an overpolished case, a loose bracelet, a price swollen by chatter. Quiet buyers do not just want priority. They want to feel accurately read. Hype gives you a moment. A relationship gives you judgment, maintenance, discreet sourcing, and a phone call answered years later. The doors slide shut. Brushed steel, office light, stale air. I ease my watch under a plain cuff because the point is not display. 2 people watch the floor numbers. One man watches the mirror. I see his eyes drop to my wrist, then lift away before anyone could call it staring. No smile, no performance. He lets the silence hold. In the lobby, the others step out. Then he says the reference, barely above a whisper, to the wall instead of to me. Not the brand, the reference. I nod once and feel that small private jolt, not exposure, but precise recognition. That is why deniable status is so addictive. It reaches the exact person it was meant for. At the register, the louder watch still catches me. It is beautiful, but it comes with a job. Keep proving I am the man who wears this. So I run the Tuesday test. Train doors, coffee lid, office elevator, a quick glance at my wrist before a meeting starts. The quiet watch survives every frame. It sits low. The dial stays composed. It gives me information, not a performance. When I choose it, my shoulders drop before I even speak. That feeling tells me more than the shine did. I am not buying a peak version of myself for strangers. I am choosing the watch I do not have to explain, defend, or keep acting out. I step out of the boutique into the cold evening, and for once my first impulse is not to recruit witnesses. I lower my phone. The watch slips under my cuff, and the relief is immediate. No victory lap, no waiting room wrist shot, just that quiet weight following my hand to the train rail, my keys, the lamp in my apartment. When I set it beside my cup that night, I see the real purchase clearly, not attention, permission to stop performing. The signal is still there, but deniable, selective, meant for the few who can read it. and for the life I actually live.